For 20,000 years, the stars had carried no whisper of mankind. To most civilizations now thriving across the galaxies, humanity was just a myth, a fierce, ambitious species that had burned bright, flared hard, and vanished without a trace. Their worlds were dust, their cities, long turned to ash or swallowed by time, no signals, no wreckage, nothing but echoes in half-forgotten databases. Until the Orican beacon screamed. Commander Revan Kahl of the Avar Dominion stood on the bridge of the surveillance cruiser Claveth, staring at the alert with a frown that deepened by the second. It was an ancient distress signal, so old the system barely recognized the format. Pre-galactic standard. Pre-empire. Human. He turned toward his comms officer, a jittery reptilian with blinking gill flaps. "Where did that come from?" "Sector 7, R, near the edge of the Hallow Drift," the officer replied, voice thin. We matched the hull signature. It's an Ark-class ship. Human Riven's blood ran cold." "That can't be," he muttered. "Humanity's extinct." "No confirmed activity in over 20 millennia, but this ship, Commander, it's moving." The coordinates were clear. No one should have been out there. That sector was blacklisted, not for danger but irrelevance. Dead space, long forgotten. Still, Riven gave the order. "Course change. I want eyes on that vessel. Full sensor sweep." The crew moved quickly, tension rising like static in the air. By the time they dropped out of FTL, the object was already visible, an enormous, jagged silhouette against a pale nebula. No lights, no communications, and yet it emitted a slow, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat. The closer they got, the more ancient it felt. Burnt panels, fractured plating, but the shape, sleek, massive, unmistakably designed with human defiance. Across its bow, through soot and corrosion, was a name: Ark Nemesis. The bridge fell silent. Riven leaned closer to the display. "Initiate scan." "No biologicals," someone called, "but energy readings are strange. The ship's running on partial internal power. Systems are active, like it's been asleep." He didn't hesitate. "Prep a boarding team." The shuttle launched an hour later. 5 members, all equipped with the best dampeners and isolation suits Dominion tech could provide. Riven watched from the command deck, jaw clenched, knuckles white. The moment the team breached the airlock, the ship seemed to wake. Corridors lit up. Soft hums of systems booting echoed through the comms. Artificial gravity engaged automatically. Riven heard his team breathe heavier. Not because of the pressure, but because it all felt too alive. "Clean," one of them whispered. "This place shouldn't be clean." Panels were intact. Lights flickered overhead. A few terminals still blinked, waiting to be used. Then Private Tool, the squad's youngest, reached toward a console and screamed. His body spasmed, shaking violently before collapsing to the ground. His suit's systems failed. Smoke poured into his helmet. By the time they got to him, his vitals were gone. Riven's heart dropped. "Get them out of there." But the ship had other plans. Emergency doors slammed shut. Life support rerouted. One by one, sections of the Ark sealed themselves off. The team was trapped, and worse, the ship began guiding them. Holograms lit up, showing them paths. Strange writing scrawled across the walls. English, pure, ancient Earth English. A woman's voice crackled through the team leader's mic. "We're not alone in here. Something's moving. I think... Commander, we found cryopods." Static. Then silence. The last thing Riven saw before the feed died was a flickering image, an armored chamber lined with hundreds of human pods, frost-coated, some cracked. One stood open. Empty. Then, for the first time in 20,000 years, a human voice echoed across space. It bled through every comm, every system, even their own ship's speakers. Broken, distorted, male. You should have let us sleep. We were not ready, but now we remember. Across the Dominion and beyond, old satellites blinked to life. Human code flickered in the void. Derelict ships turned toward the sun again. Riven Kahl stood motionless on his bridge, the ghost of Earth whispering through his ship's bones. Humanity was no longer extinct. They were just waking up. The silence on the Klaveth's bridge was unbearable. Commander Riven Kahl didn't move. The last thing he'd heard from his boarding team echoed over and over in his mind. The trembling voice of Lieutenant Mares whispering, "We're not alone in here," followed by static. Then that human voice, deep and hollow, that said, "We remember." No one else spoke. The crew, trained, disciplined, and hardened by years of patrolling dead sectors and chasing pirate signals, stood frozen in their places like statues. Even the hum of the ship's engine seemed quieter, as if the Klaveth itself was listening. "Status report," Riven finally muttered. A hesitant voice came from his right. "No further signals from the boarding team. Life signs flat. Internal tracking on the Ark Nemesis. Scrambled. Something's jamming the signal inside." "Something," Riven echoed. "Or someone." The technician, a young Falari, barely old enough to earn stripes, swallowed hard. "I don't know, Commander, but this ship, this Ark, it's not drifting anymore. It's steering." Riven turned toward the view screen. He could see it clearly now. The massive black silhouette of the Ark Nemesis was slowly rotating, lining itself up with the stars. Lights flickered along its hull, long-dead systems reawakening one by one. And then, without warning, a blast of blue energy erupted from the ship's lower hull. Not a weapon, something more subtle. A signal. A beacon. "Commander," called another officer. "We're being scanned. Number, not just us. This thing is broadcasting to the entire sector." A low hum spread through the bridge speakers. At first it sounded like static. But as it grew, they realized it was a voice. A chorus of voices, speaking in unison, layered like overlapping memories. "We are the echo. We were forgotten. Now we return." Riven stepped closer to the console. "Echo? What the hell does that mean?" No one had an answer. The ship's AI pinged again. "Long-range signal detected. Multiple stations in this quadrant receiving the same transmission. It's spreading faster than we can intercept." "Shut it down!" Riven barked. "I want jammers up, now!" The techs scrambled, but it was already too late. The transmission had gone viral. Within minutes, relay stations across the hollow drift began reacting. Ancient dormant satellites flickered on. Several deep space probes, long thought lost, returned from the void with perfect synchronization, as if they'd been waiting for this. And then the nightmares began. Footage from a Dominion outpost on a nearby moon showed a group of scientists watching the signal, then clutching their heads in agony as bleeding ears and ruptured skulls followed. On a mining rig deep inside an asteroid belt, every synthetic unit shut down simultaneously and began repeating a single word. "Return." Riven stood still, feeling something cold crawl up his spine. This wasn't just a ship waking up. This was a buried command, an activation. Humanity hadn't died. They had gone